It's amazing how you can stay that rational, right? Especially when the markets were panicking and no one could see the end in sight for the pandemic. Is there anything that investors or I can learn?
A lot of what we do at the portfolio, in terms of the investment strategy, that applies as well to the way that we run the business. Right? We try to make sure that we have, the right information. We try to look at possibilities and try to assess the probabilities. We're also, I would say, courageous and patient at the same time. So we're not afraid to do things which are slightly different from the market because we think that it pays, to be courageous. We're in it for the really long term. We want to run this portfolio for...
Forever?
Hopefully. Well, certainly we're thinking in terms of decades.
Okay.
Right? We're thinking beyond our lifetimes. What's going to happen to this portfolio, which has most of our own net worth, and obviously the net worth of many of our investors. How can we run a portfolio that's going to last, beyond their lifetimes, that can benefit their children and the next generations? That requires a lot of patience. We're not in a rush. And you need to be very sort of deliberate in what you do.
The firm has grown tremendously and you have almost 70 employees across Singapore and also New York.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fairly decent-sized team, right? How much of your strategy is actually driven by machine and how does the human element come into play?
That's a good question because I think most people, when they think about quantitative fund managers, they think about machines doing most of the work. To a certain extent, that's true in the sense that we are reliant upon models and algorithms to do some of the heavy lifting. We can run the portfolio of 200 over different markets, thousands of positions, because we are augmented by machines. But a core part of what we do is still based on human input. Reading through research materials and figuring out whether there is a risk premium and deciding whether or not it's good enough for a portfolio, that's a human decision.
During my research into Quantedge, an interesting fact I came across is that since they started, only 3 employees have left the firm, and none have left for a competitor.
The culture from day one has always been one of collegiality. I think the founders themselves epitomize that. And they worked together very closely and did everything together, came to joint decisions, and that tone at the top affects everyone below.
It's interesting because I came from a banking background, right? So even within equities division, there will be researchers, there will be salespeople, and there will be traders, right? Traders may think that they are making the shots because they're making the big trades and then bringing in the big money, right? And after some time, there will be a bit more competition within the group. What is the culture that's so special, and how do you inculcate that?
I think the quant investing methodology lends itself well to a collaborative approach. In many ways, encourages more teamwork, right? So
What do you mean? Yeah.
unlike a situation where you've got superstar traders, portfolio managers who try to outdo others. In a quant approach, you need many contributors looking at many different markets, performing all kinds of research. The more people you have, you're going to create a more robust model.
The world is so huge. How do you look at the opportunity? What shouts out to you as this is an opportunity?
Well, I suppose we don't look at opportunities in the same way as many other discretionary managers, right? Every single financial market out there is an opportunity. And what we want to do is look at all these markets, especially the bigger markets. Try and understand the market microstructure. Who are the players? Why are they behaving in a certain way? Why are there biases in the market? And if we can identify those biases, and we think that those biases will subsist for the long term, then that's a great opportunity for us to trade, right? We just then need to determine how do we access the market? Can we do it in a cost-efficient manner? And then we code it into the whole model. In the earlier days, we used to access the bigger markets, the more accessible markets, the equity futures, bond futures. And today we're into so many different markets. It's of course getting harder and harder to find new ones. But there are still markets that are untapped. Like, for example, in the last 3 years, we've gone into US mortgage-backed securities. close-ended funds, and we've gone into some China-based commodities. So there are pockets here and there that
It's
have
becoming more
yet...
and more niche.
Absolutely.
And, I myself have been an investor in Bitcoin since 2017. Right?
Wow. Okay.
We've been hearing institutions getting quite interested, involved in crypto investing as well. How do you see crypto fitting into Quantedge's strategy? I mean, is there room for it?
It's interesting because when you compare Quantedge to, I guess, traditional investing, people think we're probably a bit risky there. But when you compare us to cryptocurrencies, we're probably pretty conservative. As we assess whether or not this is suitable for our portfolio, we need good data to support it. So at the moment, we would say we can't identify the risk premium yet, not on a conclusive basis. And maybe it's a question of time because it's still a very young, very nascent market. There are operational challenges, different risks in terms of accessibility, custody, and there's that huge element of regulatory risk. The monetary system has, as far as we can remember, been controlled, and for that to become decentralized, I think there's going to be huge amounts of resistance. There's going to be a lot done to prevent that from happening because obviously control of currency and money gives you a lot of influence and control over the economy. So there's good reason for governments to want to keep that under close watch. So things can change a lot, and that's the kind of risk that is very difficult to quantify. So I would say we're watching, we're researching, but it's something that could happen in the future.